Like for example, in my own personal email, what I really want is the ability to parse out whether something is spam or whether something needs to be actioned on. And I know a lot of you have probably looked at your email every single day and you've done this thing where you're like, oh my God, why am I wasting my time going through and clicking off all these emails? So what I ended up doing is I gave this AI agent the task essentially to prevent that from being the case. This workflow is actually a pretty simple one, but it is extremely effective. Hi, my name is Dimitri Benici, and I'm a content creator, agency owner, and AI enthusiast. You're listening to the AI Agents Podcast, brought to you by Jotform, and featuring our very own CEO and founder, Ida Tank. This is the show where artificial intelligence meets innovation, productivity, and the tools shaping the future of work. Enjoy the show. Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the AI Agents Podcast. In today's episode, we're actually going to be diving into an AI workflow that I've made that I think you're going to really enjoy. There are so many different ways that you can use different workflows inside of your business or for yourself personally, and that is why for this episode, I am going to dive into how I use AI agents to actually keep my inboxes clean. So let's dive into the different parts of this automation and the different parts of the AI agents that I've created in order to make this happen. Let's dive right into it. All right, so if we go to make.com, this is my main automation platform that I use. And just to give you a little bit of understanding of what we're going to be talking about in this episode, I actually have an issue that I always run into. It's the fact that I have trained myself to really only look at my email a couple times a day. Now, a couple times a day may sound like not that much, and you might be thinking to yourself, how do you only check it a couple times a day? Like, I actually schedule my email times, like right when I finish my basic tasks in the morning. I have another time at the sort of like middle afternoon hour at like 1 or 2 p.m. And then I have one to close out my day at like 5:36. Now, these are some great options for when you can look at your email, but there might be some things that pop up that are kind of urgent, or, you know, what I really just can't stand the most is that cleanup time, that sorting through the different aspects of your email. So I actually have a few different email addresses that I'm going to show you how I sort them out. And it's not me doing anything anymore. It's actually AI sorting them out. And this is what I like to call categorical labeling, or just labeling your emails with AI. So there's this really cool product called Dumpling AI. If you go to their website, you'll notice that it's essentially a product that has some really nice AI agent capabilities. And they get the AI agent capabilities via you essentially going into their platform. And then on their platform, you'll see you can create AI agents. And on these AI agents, you'll see there is something like an email cleanup bot. And what it does is it essentially takes your different instructions and allows you to have this be the baseline for your automations inside of make.com. And the problem with utilizing ChatGPT or something like that is the fact that it doesn't usually have a lot of instructions baseline in there. And I'm just not a fan of that. Like for example, in my own personal email, what I really want is the ability to parse out whether something is spam or whether something needs to be actioned on. And I know a lot of you have probably looked at your email every single day and you've done this thing where you're like, oh my God, why am I wasting my time going through and clicking off all these emails? I thought I unsubscribed from that platform that was offering me a free coupon. I thought I unsubscribed from the random time I purchased something from a physical goods store, and then now I'm just getting spammed. Like, okay, yeah, I got my dog a dog toy, but now I keep getting spammed with these emails. I don't want that. I really do not want that. What I want is a clear inbox. So what I ended up doing is I gave this AI agent the task essentially to prevent that from being the case. This workflow is actually a pretty simple one, but it is extremely effective. So you'll see here that it says a baseline level of instructions where it says you are the ultimate AI agent for email inbox decluttering. The objectives are to categorize emails, automate filtering, and enhance productivity. And what it's essentially doing here is it's going to break it down into two different categories, either action required or mark as read. And then it's going to here in the instructions say what are actually, things that need to have actions required on. So for example, direct questions, where it asks for specific information, requests for action specifically, meeting invitations, and important notifications. Now, what it'll do here in the goal of the automation is essentially figure out which of the labels it's going to be assigned and then follow through with that. So if there is something that I need to action on, I want it to not only read the email, but I actually want it to input it into my Notion task system, which you'll see in a second. Then after that, we have the second label, which is mark as read. In this context, it's going to take advertisements and promotions, payment confirmations, thank you messages, meeting status updates, informational updates like newsletters, friendly reminders, billing renewals, confirmation of events, status quo type things. All of these are just going to get it marked as read. Now, you might be saying, okay, that's like a little much, right? Like you don't want everything to get marked as read. Sure, that's the case, I guess. But how do I say this? There is nothing wrong with you marking something as read. If it deletes from your inbox, fine, that's a problem. But what I would recommend is fine-tuning a model like this. And when you fine-tune this model, you'll be like me and realize, oh God, I didn't need to look through all these emails. It's not worth my time. So let's show you how this automation actually works. Because yes, this agent exists and I've trained it on all of these different bits of information regarding different phrases that might make it seem like there's action required or mark as read. So essentially what I've done is if I go into make.com, I have an automation called Dimitri at RP Email Cleanup Management. Okay. So inside of here, you'll see that essentially every time I get an email, and this runs on a 2-hour basis, so it just checks the last couple hours. What then happens is I make a automation connection with Dumpling AI, and then I copy and paste the agent ID from here. And from there, what I do is I give it a prompt saying, take the email text from, and then give the sender name, and parentheses the email address below, and respond with mark as read or not. And then what it has here is text content. So then what I do is I do another really quick ChatGPT prompt because I like to break things up. I don't want it to be too, what's the word I'm looking for? Extensive of a prompt. Really long prompts tend to cause more issues than good. Actually breaking them up into chunks is solid. So I just have a second prompt here that says, analyze the text below and tell me whether at the end of the output to text categorize the text as mark as read or action required. Respond with only the text from one of those categories based on the text below. And that text below would be from the categorization message. And then what I do is I have a filter of this result, set it to mark as read or action required. So as you might have guessed, I'm going to have it mark as required, but also I'm going to have it add a modifier here where I can change the label so that later if I want to go and check that part of the inbox, I can see, okay, sure, it's marked as read, but also there's a marker for mark as read. So that is one router. And then the other router is essentially I figure out, the ones for action required. I then have ChatGPT analyze the text and figure out whether it's a high, medium, or kind of low priority task. What is it doing this based off of? It's doing it based off of the text content from the email. And the nice thing about this is it kind of does a baseline job of getting it into my ecosystem in Notion really well because it has a priority. It has a unique task title. So as you can see here, this is basically taking a task title by saying, hey, here's the sender, their name, their email address, the subject, the body content. Based on the email content, write a concise task name. And then what I do is I have it create a task utilizing that result inside of my Notion database. And then the next few steps from there would actually be something like the following. You would take, a added logo, like adding the checked icon here. And then I also have a automation setup that makes this ChatGPT module essentially create a short text summary. So the problem with doing all these automations is that usually, some things just don't fit. And what didn't fit here was just the baseline text of the email. So what I did is I added a summary as well. So what happens now is essentially this is a module to append text to a page. So the new task I just created, it'll have the subject of the email. It'll have the link to the actual email. And then from there, it'll also have a summary as to what email inbox this comes from. Because I actually do this for a lot of my emails. I do this for my personal email. I do this for my work email. It's really great. And then from there, I have the result of the summary. As you can see, it's from number 18, which is the summary module. And then at the end of that, I actually have the full email and the text content there for context. And obviously, the next step would be to mark it as read and modify the email labels. Now, let me show you some of the examples of how this works really quick. So I'm just going to go back to my history, and this seems to be a couple different options. So these are 4 emails that I would have had to look through if, for example, they were actually not connected to this automation. It would be kind of annoying. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this AI marked as read category, and you'll see there's an action required, and there's a marked as read section. So let's take a look at some of these. So obviously I have some recent emails, okay? These recent emails, wow, this is important. I already have some automations that actually send me reminders on like booking times and that kind of stuff. And I over the top check my calendar. So I don't really need notifications for when a booking is canceled or when a meeting is declined or a reminder. You know, in this case, you know, we have somebody who wanted a discovery call. I don't need help with this. Okay. I don't need this to be the case. 4 emails essentially were going to be wasted in my inbox. Not worth it. This Slack admin updates. Wow. I need to know about this stuff. I thought I unsubscribed from all of the wonderful random emails I get from Slack. I guess not. But luckily, this product, this sweet, sweet product I've made has helped me so much prevent this. Another great example. Okay, I got a notification that Pipedrive's free trial ended. Thanks for trying to sell me again. I don't need you. And all of these are essentially marked as such. Now, this is something that I deal with a lot. So actually, there are some other different tasks in here that I do think it would make sense for you to showcase. So if I go through some of my tasks in Notion, what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to showcase a specific set of tasks where, let's say it was created by, and let's go to make.com. All right, so let's take a look at this right here. So these are essentially going to be the different opportunities for me to go around and kind of see the fruits of my setup with this automation system. All right, so there's a bunch of these that have been checked off, so I'm just going to show them to you. So essentially I was having this issue where there was some unreconciled customer balances in Stripe. So I had to get paid with that. And all I would do is I just open up this, I'd see the summary. Oh, okay, I need to do it in 75 days. Let me open up this email real quick. Okay, thank you for the context. Appreciate that. I guess I'll go into Stripe and figure it out. Now you can see this is a much different situation. I'm only really getting my action items added to my calendar here. I'm not getting some sort of weird like system where, I don't know, it's just, how do I say this? There's a lot of different times where people are going through their email and they're just essentially clicking through reading stuff. And I wanted to get rid of that. So I did that and it's been pretty great. Now there are some issues where, you know, you kind of need to get rid of some of these options. So like, for example, respond to Kartik's LinkedIn connection requests. Some of them that come through are still not great. And essentially what I can do in order to prevent any of these different things from happening is I could always go to the AI agent and I could add more instances as to what would be considered marked as read or action required. And all I would have to do is change this inside of here and it'll improve the model, so to say. And I could also add different tools to this, like searching a knowledge base. After adding a knowledge base of examples of different times that, you know, the things that come up are action required or not action required. It's kind of up to you. And this product, when it comes to knowledge bases, you might be wondering, what is that? Well, inside of AI agents, something really important to note is there are AI agents all the time. So let's say email examples of actions or not. Very fun title. Inside of this, what I can do is I can add different resources. So I could add text, or I could add a document, which would be a PDF or a docx or a TXT file. And then from there, what the AI agent is going to do is it's going to cross-reference those different documents when it's performing its tasks. This is utilizing something that is called RAG. RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation and is the process of essentially cross-referencing a large set of text by almost doing its own like mini search in the way that like a search engine would of that text, and then utilizing that as a step in the process, and then putting that back into the interaction with the large language model like ChatGPT. And then at that point, essentially using the baseline ChatGPT, training model and information that's there, and then adding the extra context as an improved response. So I always recommend training these agents on models. And what I'm gonna do is definitely in the future, give it examples of what is or isn't, because there's some of these different tasks, as you can see, that definitely needed to go away, and some of them that were good. I have a personal, obviously, situation with our guy Idekin, and this is a wondrous example of how this worked out well. On the weekend, which I really don't check my email or my Slack too much, Idekin's essentially like, hey man, do you want to meet for a double podcast this week? And I went, yeah, sure. And I wouldn't have been able to do anything to that effect or figure out the fact that he was requesting this unless I opened up my email, and I don't want to do that on the weekends. I don't mind working on the weekends as a business owner and as someone doing this, just being interested in the space. I work a little bit more than, just during the work week, but I don't really like checking my email. It's kind of a different experience to have those interactions, to be honest. And here what we have is a wondrous example of how Idekin just essentially wants me to make sure that I can, do a double podcast this week because he's going to be out of town later in the next couple of weeks. And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it, of course. And this is awesome because it is actionable. It is going to take up some time on my calendar. And since I time block and that kind of stuff, just figuring out my schedule and that sort of thing, it really does help to have this in my inbox of my tasks. So the nice thing about this is I have this set up inside of my account for my business, and then I also have it for my personal email here too. So for another email of mine, you'll see right here, it's the same stuff. If I go to my personal email, you'll see that there's action required and there is marked as read. Marked as read is a lot when it comes to personal, right? You have so many different things coming through. I got like random affiliate commissions. I have random like reminders that I made a transaction on my credit card. I have, what else is this? I get early access to new styles and something. Like I bought my girlfriend like a bracelet, and I'm just like, okay, I don't need this. I thought I unsubscribed from it. Somehow still came through, but it auto read. Bitly, for some reason, I'm on their subscribe. I don't know why I'm on their email list, right? Like this is the kind of stuff that's annoying. You just get a bunch of stuff and you don't really care. You don't really want it. So I'm just glad that without having to unsubscribe, it essentially unsubscribes me with this system. And that's pretty much it. This is how I've created a basic example of a sort of AI agent that helps you improve your email. Because for me, I don't like looking at my email. This is saving me at least like 10 minutes a day of just sorting through nonsense in my inbox. And I'd say, like that's almost an hour a week if you take in the whole work week. Like 5 to 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day is a lot that you're saving. An hour of work is no joke. 1/40th, I guess, of your work week, or a little bit more, I'm not sure. The big thing for me here is that I don't have to look at it. And whether it's saving me tangibly 15 minutes a day, it's more saving me time on not having to context switch, because I'm like going into my inbox and like just sorting out and thinking in that way. I'm just focused on the tasks that are at hand. And as they pop up in my inbox in regards to like my Notion inbox, I will work on them. But when you have a lot of different people who are just distracted by their email inbox all the time, it's not fun. So I definitely recommend that you try out this product, Dumpling AI, and I appreciate you for listening to this episode of the AI Agents Podcast. If you were listening on audio for any reason, definitely go and check out the YouTube video. It's definitely going to be a better experience. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll see you in the next one.